On this LensVid Talk, a new reigning champion of travel tripods, a lovely list of lenses, and an old name makes a comeback in an unusual place. Stick around.
Hello, everybody. We're at LensVid Talk 25, and hello, Lou.
Hi, Ido.
And today we're going to we have quite a few subjects. I want to start, as always, with some reviews that we have recently published. So actually, the two of them are your reviews. So the first one is the SmallRig RT25 tube light, which you reviewed a few weeks ago. What can you tell us about that?
It's one of its main features is that it's, what was it, IP54, I think, which means it's like resistant to light splashes. You can have it in a light drizzle. There don't seem to be very many tube lights with any kind of weather resistance rating, so that immediately sets it apart. So it's really tough and durable. It's built really, it feels like really durable.
It's kind of thick, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, and it has an aluminum kind of metal build. Most of the tube lights are made out of plastic, so this is kind of a more heavy duty thing. It has a grip. There's a battery in the grip. You can also power it through USB if you don't have the grip attached.
But I think that the main feature, if people didn't understand, I'll put it on the screen, is that it has two parts. So there is the light and there is a battery grip.
Right.
And you can, in theory, buy the battery separately. So let's say that you're powering it for an hour and then the battery dies, you can switch the battery to a new one.
But do they sell the battery separately?
That's the problem.
Yet?
We will be, again, we mentioned this in the previous
We'll
LensVid
make that
Talk.
recommendation.
Yeah. No, I actually recommend that to them when we did the review, but I'll talk to them in IBC if we see them, or not if, when we see them, and I'll ask if they have plans to actually sell the battery separately, because that's really important.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you want to use this, you need to be able to switch them. But yeah, so that's the SmallRig RT25 tube light. Another thing that we don't have it here, but this one we do, the Falcam TreeRoot tripod. So maybe show it to the camera. Yeah, it's kind of light, small travel tripod, really nice. Falcam has some really nice ideas for products, and I think in this one they incorporated quite a few of them. What can you tell us about this?
Well, I love grabbing it, that rouleau shape.
Yeah, I'm not sure that people really, you mentioned that in the review, I'm not sure if everybody knows what it is. It's like, it's not exactly oblique, not oblique, what the term I'm
kind
looking
of oval.
Oval, but not exactly, I don't know.
Right.
Yeah. Hopefully you can somehow see that in the
Turning it. So it's not round, it's sort of an oval shape, which makes it sort of sit in your palm a little bit more comfortably. And if you're carrying this, so that means that when you're carrying this and you're walking around and you're just gripping the whole thing, it feels actually round in your entire hand. Like when you're gripping a regular tripod, you're gripping the outer edges of each round leg. So the surface area that makes contact with your hand is just more comfortable in the end.
And what else is special about this?
Well, you've got this weird center column detaching
mechanism. Yeah, I tried to decipher it and I wasn't very successful, but you were.
So I feel kind of like a little dumb saying this because I didn't mention it in the review. And you saw in the review when I went to open it, you do this and then you click this up. Whoop. There we go.
Okay.
And immediately it hits one of the legs, right?
Yeah.
So that doesn't seem like the best way to open it. And you know what? It isn't.
Okay.
The best way to open it is to do something very, very simple. Let's see if I can just get that back on first. It's so hard to get back on in this position. and they just made it more difficult. But actually, what you should do is raise it
And then open
and
it.
then open
Oh,
it
okay.
without any of the legs getting in the way. They won't be in the way once it's up here.
Yeah.
So that's the simple way of doing that.
Okay.
I made it too hard for myself.
So, but generally speaking, it has a lot of very cool features. The head lock that we talked last time on LensVid Talk on the, yeah,
the
exactly.
locking control trigger.
Yeah, the
is-
leveling sort of thing. It's
Yeah.
fantastic.
So it's very easy to close.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
That's one of the nice things. Like
Yeah.
it doesn't. You're not like.
No, you're not fighting with it
You're
at
not
all.
fighting
And
with
the
it.
locking mechanism for the Arca is also very good.
Right. This is snaps into place, so it's spring loaded. Let me actually turn that panning so it doesn't move. And yeah, you just kind of put it in and
Yeah.
boom.
Yeah, no, I use it with my. We have an Arca based on. It's a Manfrotto hybrid plate, so it's both RC2 and Arca, and it works on that. And it doesn't
Yep.
work on all Arcas, so
Yep.
that's cool. What else? It has
So
it has all sorts
this,
of other features.
dampening knob.
I like the noise that it makes.
Yeah. So when this is closed, now it's in its tightest position. You can barely move it. So if you have a really heavy rig on top of here, a little bit of weight, and you can kind of just shift the position. But for a little Sony camera like mine, easier if you have it at the more sort of loose position, and then you can feel like you can move it around with some force, but it's still locked enough that it will hold a static shot. It's not an issue. So this way you do not have to constantly be opening and closing this. You can just set it according to the weight of your camera, and then just give it a little push and it'll move.
But can you lock if you turn it all the way to the most friction, let's say, position, it will be completely locked and you won't be able to change it with your hand?
I was able to still move it with the hand, but you really have to hold the tripod, and you really got to get it at an angle. So it's not really going to happen in reality.
No. Okay.
It's tough enough.
Yeah. Okay. So it's a pretty nice tripod. It is expensive. I mean, it's $500, something like that.
Elite tripods are expensive.
Yeah.
I guess that's the lesson, you
Yeah.
know. But at least it's $100 less than
The
the
Peak
Peak
design.
design, and I think it's comparable or possibly better.
Possibly better. Yeah. So yeah, that's a cool tripod. Yeah, we tested in the past Gitsu tripods that had far less features that cost twice as much.
Right.
So $500 seems like a lot, but they are much more expensive travel tripods. So that's the Falcam TreeRoot quick lock travel tripod review. Go check it out. It's loose review. It's very good. Let's talk some lenses. Tamron has a full frame. I think it's a full frame, 50 to 300 millimeter f4.5 to f6.3. And I know, what do you think about this lens?
Seems like a cool outdoor lens to use on bright sunny days when you're
for sure.
traveling. So you don't have to carry a bunch of other lenses.
Yeah, I'll say what my concern is with this lens. It does extend, right? That's one thing that I think you told me.
Yes.
It starts from 50, and it sort of means that if you're shooting outdoors, you would probably need a wider angle lens as well. So 24 to 50, something like that. I know. So some lens of...
What's the usual all-in-one lens that a lot of people use? 24 to 105? There's like a Sony lens like that. So, I mean, I think it's going a little too far to then make a lens that's 24 to 300. It's either going to be too heavy or too big.
I think that there is a 28 to 300, but that's a gigantic heavy lens.
Right.
So you can't really call it a travel lens. So yeah, you can take two lenses, one like ultra whatever, and 24 to 50 or something like that, and another like this. Yeah, that's an option. So that's the Tamron 50 to 300. Again, I'm not sure about the pricing. I'll put it in here. Now, AstrHori, which has been making quite a few interesting lenses recently. We tested one of them a long time ago. I'm not sure that they're going to be in IBC, so I'm not sure if we will have a chance to actually talk to them. But they already have the 28 millimeter periscope lens. Now they added a rotating base for it. Now you saw that recently,
Yeah.
right? What are your thoughts about this?
I mean, if you're already
If you have the
shooting-
lens, then it's obviously something that
right, but I'm thinking of the subject matter. If you're already kind of doing this creative kind of video
Yeah,
where you're
shooting
punching
into
inside something, then chances are you might also want to be able to rotate the entire image that way.
If I remember correctly, Laowa had the same thing with their second generation of the periscope lens. They now have 3 generations. So we have the first generation. The second one also had a version which turned. I think they had a version with like a 90-degree, and then they have a version that turned. And now they have a version which is faster, and it has 3 variants. We did a video about that from IBC last year. We will probably see it in IBC this year as well, so you can check it out as well.
I'm having a wondering, and I'm probably going to reveal my ignorance, but what would be the advantage of using something like this over just rotating the image in post with keyframes? Maybe that you've got the entire image, the entire sensor is involved.
When
so
you're
you
rotating,
lose
you
anything.
lose a lot of the sides.
The
I don't know how
corners.
to explain this, but the corners,
Yeah.
I'll try to show this with this page. These parts, like
Right.
the parts in here, are going to get, the information is going to get lost.
Right.
While when you're rotating the whole thing,
Nothing
Yeah,
gets lost.
yeah, it does look strange, but the whole thing is like an effect sort of thing. So I don't know. But I've seen, I think Laowa did last year on IBC. They had this version of the lens, their version, and they did something really cool. Like they did something with a Coke bottle when they showed how if I still have this footage, I will show it on the screen. When they moved it, like the lens to the bottle somehow, it was really cool. It was like, if I could do like a commercial where I can put this very easily on as part of because it requires nothing. You just, I think it uses, I'm trying to remember how you control it. Maybe with like you control the aperture and with the ring. I don't remember. But regardless, it was really cool the way that that setup was, and I don't know, it's useful. So I'm not against it. So that's the addition to the AstrHori 28mm f13. It's the rotating base. Another 2 lenses or 2 sets of lenses, if you like. DZO has a new line called Arles. Hope I'm pronouncing it correctly. So this is, I would say, basically a Cine lens. From the Cine lens, I would say that I'm looking at 2 variants, maybe even 3, but certainly 2. You have the compact, usually fairly inexpensive, but some of them are fairly expensive, but most of them are fairly compact. A set of lenses that are designed primarily for mirrorless cameras, which I like because we use mirrorless cameras. And there are the like traditional, larger, heavier, very well built lenses, which are usually the first ones come in all sorts of mounts. So you have usually everything from PL to EF and RF and whatever, or EF and Nikon and all the regular mounts. But with the larger ones, usually what you get is only PL or PL and EF. Sometimes you have E, but usually these are the 2 common ones. So when you have two mounts, you usually know that these are from the type of lenses that are the heavier ones. So these are the heavier ones. And this line includes 5 lenses. So there are 25mm, 35, 50, 75, and 100mm, all T1.4, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not sure about the 100. Probably the 100 is not T1.4. I'm not sure. I'll write it on the screen. But they're not super heavy, but also not super light, between 1.4 kilograms and almost 2 kilograms. Again, PL and EF, 95mm filter, so that's pretty common. And I think that I'm not sure if the most interesting part, but fairly interesting part is that you can buy a kit for under 10 grand of all 5 of them. So it's like under 2 grand per lens. That's very expensive, relatively speaking, for these type of lenses. The smaller ones you can get for less, but actually I'm not sure if they're full frame or not. Do you remember?
I would assume they are. Oh, you mean whether they're
No,
full
never-
frame
never
or
s-
medium format?
Yeah.
I don't know.
No, not medium format. It can be full frame or 35 film.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Millimeter equivalent.
Yeah. It's not 35. It's like super 35.
Super
so I'm not
35,
sure if
right,
it's
right,
super 35 or full frame. I'll write it on the screen. Anyway, so that's the DZO Arles line. Sirui also have 2 lenses for their Sniper line, which is like small APS-C sort of lenses. These ones are F, so they're not video lenses, although you can use them for video. So the 2 new ones are 16 millimeter and 75 millimeter. Both of them are very fast, f1.2, and they have autofocus. So again, not.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's interesting. We will probably see them in. I hope I know in IBC. So you'll have a chance to maybe even test them.
Yeah.
So that's Sirui. This is something that Ulanzi recently made, and I don't have much to say about this.
It
This
does
is
a little bit. Go ahead and say what it is.
no,
first, sorry.
yeah, exactly. So it's called the Ulanzi DD02 HD video switcher for live streaming.
Right.
So what did you want to say
I
about
was
it?
just going to say it looks like it does part of what a A10 Mini does.
Yeah, so that's the Ulanzi DDO02 HD video switcher. It's a long name. It's nice to see more companies getting into this, because initially, as you said, there was more or less the 80 Mini, and then there were a couple of others, and now there are more and more options. So yeah, that's
YOLO
Yeah,
box,
exactly.
I
Yeah.
think, is the premier, or seems to be the go-to one for run and gun, like on the go if you're moving around.
because it's a built-in monitor, and it's
and you can have a what's the chip called from your cell phone? You could put it in there for the
yeah, it has
signal.
a 5G or whatever.
5G,
yeah.
right?
Okay, so that's the Ulanzi. SmallRig has basically a 220 watt light. We are actually using 220 watt lights from SmallRig here, but this one is, I think, a little bit smaller, and the nice thing is it has a V-mount battery on the back. And we will talk about something similar in the next LensVid Talk. We're recording all 3, the previous one and the next one, we're recording at the same time. So this concept of putting the V-mount, like having a light which has everything on board without a ballast, and the V-mount is on the light instead of placing it somewhere. I like this concept. The only thing that we need to see if we ever get to test this is whether or not it gets overly hot, because when everything
of
is
stuff
on
in
the
one place.
light, then yeah, and obviously it means that the controls are on the side. Good, bad, I know. Yeah, it's
It also means that it'll be heavier too, right?
with the V mount, yeah, but I don't see this as a problem. It's not a very large light.
Right.
So yeah, it's a 220 watt light with the V mount on the back. SmallRig also has a new heavy-duty video tripod called the AD120. Now, this is not the one that we are waiting for. We are waiting for the one that they're making with Potato Jet.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah. So with Potato Jet, they have one which is supposed to open very, very quickly with one hand
Yeah.
or something.
Yeah.
It's really cool. We will see it in IBC. I'm not sure if we will see Potato Jet himself, but the tripod will probably be there. And we're waiting to get it for review. But this one is more traditional one, similar, I would say, to the Ulanzi that you recently tested, we talked about in the previous Ulanzi talk.
Right.
So I don't have much to say about this, but it's just another option in terms of like heavy duty video tripods.
I'm curious how it'll stack up against their Free Blazer.
So yeah, I'm not sure. Maybe we
is-
can ask them, if
yeah.
it's designed to be above, below, cheaper, have like more expensive. I'm not sure.
Or on the go, or is it more of a studio tripod? Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. So that's the heavy duty video tripod AD120 from SmallRig. Atomos has something which I actually think is very interesting, and it's called the Shinobi. It's basically the Shinobi. Shinobi is their monitor line instead of their monitor recorder line, which is the Ninja.
Okay.
So the Shinobi 2.
I actually always wondered about that. Thank you. I had no idea.
Oh yeah, that's the difference. So the Ninja, which we have the Ninja 5 Ultra, whatever,
Okay.
here in the studio. I have quite a few reservation about it. I know it's very, very popular.
What about the Shogun? Is that just a bigger
It's
version?
a bigger one, yeah. The
Okay.
Shogun is, I think, 19-inch or something. Yeah. So the Shinobi is a small, basically the same thing as the Ninja, but without the recording capabilities. And this is the second generation. Now, what they added all sorts of stuff. I think it's more like the brightness is, I think, a little bit higher. But the one thing that came to me, which is finally here, is camera control. And that's very interesting. They're not the first one to do camera control, but it's the first time that they're doing camera control. And I think that's very important because I've been very critical about Atomos in the past, in past LensVid talks, because I think that they were they were trying to promote things which are not important for a lot of photographers or videographers. They were been trying to promote all the things that relate to camera to the cloud. Now, I'm not saying that there aren't people that are using that, but I think it's a tiny, tiny, tiny niche of people who are even remotely interested in shooting directly to the cloud and editing directly in the cloud and all the it's a very, for us, it's completely irrelevant. And pushing that much and giving, because they're not a huge company, so they have limited resources in terms of R&D. And if they're investing a lot in camera to the cloud, they're not investing in other things that related to their monitors. And one of the biggest things that I wanted to see was camera control, and they didn't have it until now. So I, first of all, want to see this in the Ninja line, hopefully as a firmware update, but probably not, as I know the company, but I know. So I know, but it's really interesting, and I would definitely want to test the Shinobi. If we got to see them in IBC, I would definitely ask them to test this. First of all, see it in action, and maybe test it on our own. The next one is something by Aputure. And Aputure didn't announce anything new for quite a long time, I would say. And this is basically their second generation LS600C. And do you remember how their 600 line is comprised of?
No.
So they have like the D, which is the daylight. They have the bi, which is bicolor. And the
Right.
C is color.
Right,
it's
right,
RGB.
right.
So this is the second generation RGB light,
Okay.
600 watt. And this one is smaller. It says smaller design. What they say is that it is nearly double the output, which is really the brightness, which is really impressive. And it has a higher flicker-free performance. So that's important if you're shooting faster, like high-speed shooting, basically.
Okay.
So that can be important.
I see. So that's like the hertz.
Yeah.
Of
Yeah,
the-
you can shoot in very high frame rates without getting flickering. Maybe it's true for other things as well. I'm not sure, but
Gotcha.
for
So
for that it's important.
It must have a very high
Yeah.
sort of rate of its own.
The dimming is smoother, so it ramps up from very low, like 1% or even whatever, to like gradually moving up. So that's important. And you talked about IP54.
Another IP54.
Yeah, weather sealing. So this one is also rated for that. So that's and a bunch of other updates, I think. So that's nice. It's not particularly affordable 600 watt light. I mean, that's obviously one of the top ones in the category. I mean, there are more expensive ones, but you can also find quite a few more affordable options. I think that you can find a few 600 watt lights which are quite a bit below $1,000, and this is quite a bit above 1,000, maybe even like $2,000. I'm not sure. I'll write it on the screen, but I remember that I was quite like taken down by the price of this. So it's not super cheap. And the last one is this is one which is kind of quirky. I think I saw it, on Sony Alpha Rumors. They published this, and it's basically Japan has always been a very strange country in terms of what sells in Japan, not necessarily sells in other countries. But if this is true, and this actually shows the list of cameras sold in Japan recently, then what is leading the sales in Japan of cameras is
Kodak.
And I was like, when I saw it, was like, what the hell?
Is it a throwaway camera or is it a small digital? I did read this.
It's a compact camera, so I wouldn't call it a throwaway camera, but
or disposable.
No, it's a compact in the sense that you can interchange. You can change the lens.
Right.
It's like the old compact cameras.
Right. Okay.
But it's called Pixie Pro, I think. A bunch of them. They have more than one. Honestly, I didn't even know that they make them. They
were still making cameras?
Yeah, I thought that they're all dead. So apparently not. And apparently in Japan, they're also selling very well.
It would be the ultimate comeback story.
Yeah. So that's it's a double comeback story if you think about it, because it's a comeback story for
they're
Kodak,
in Japan, right.
for Kodak and for the compact camera
for a
market
Rochester-based company, yeah.
I know. So that's kind of strange. I'm not sure if it's completely true, but if it is, then Japan has just become even weirder than it previously was, this in my eyes. So yeah, that's, I think, everything that we have for you. So first of all, thank you, Lou.
You're welcome. Thank you, Ito.
And don't forget to, you can read of course, all the topics that we discussed here on the LensVid Talk article on LensVid. Don't forget to subscribe, and we'll see you in the next LensVid Talk and the next reviews on LensVid. Bye.
Bye now.